like to open this meeting of the Wilton Conservation Commission at 7:35. We'll start by approving the minutes. Anybody got any omissions or corrections to the minutes?
I read them and didn't. I liked that they were very succinct. Very like.
Well, it's a kind of succinct meeting, so, you know, that helps.
It wasn't too wordy, so it was good.
Anybody got any omissions or corrections?
No.
Anna?
Nope.
I move that we accept it as written.
Do I hear a second?
Second. Oh.
All those in favor? Okay. Administrative discussion, meeting with the Master Plan Implementation Committee representative. You want to come up?
Me.
Come on up.
Hi. I know some of you, but not most of you.
Own microphone.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you're on.
Afraid to, yeah.
You're on the thing and all. Hi, I'm Jonathan Leibowitz. I'm representing the Master Plan Implementation Committee. I'd just like to talk for a few minutes. I noticed that you have a very full agenda, so I don't want to take up a lot of time with what you're doing otherwise. So as you know, my wife always says I shouldn't say "as you know" when I start something, because if you know it,
We'll soon know.
because you know it. Well, you probably know it already, so that's fine. The town adopted the new master plan last spring, and part of that was to set up a committee to implement the plan. The feeling was, I mean, we got this.
Work in progress.
We got these beautiful, we got these beautiful books. I don't know how, I invite, if you can get a chance to look at them, that's what it looks like up there. It's a great publication, but if it sits on the shelf, clearly that's not doing what it wants to do. So, what we intend to do with it. So the town, as part of that, set up this Master Plan Implementation Committee, which has been meeting since late spring, I guess. Many of the members are people who were on the Master Plan Update Committee. There were a few of us, mostly myself, I guess now, as it stands now, who were not. But anyway, so we've been meeting, and we've come up with, and I think I'd rather sort of just skip over to that if you could move ahead a little bit. We've come up with 7.
Well, that's interesting.
Keep going.
That was good.
Okay, the initial 7. There we go. Okay, so we've come up with 7 topics that we felt we would do well to focus on. Some of them are topics that were seen as very important, particularly the first 2, the Littleton Common and the zoning assessment and diagnostic, which sort of covers the whole town. And the transportation, I guess, is also another one that we thought was, that was thought to be very, important, involving lots of the town and lots of committees and so on. The other 4 are ones that we thought, or as one of our members has called them, the low-hanging fruit, that some of these were relatively easy to do. Some of them I can speak about the historical survey, because I'm also on the historical commission, as is Rachel. We already had underway, we had gotten money from, we now, putting my other hat as historical commissioner, we had gotten money from CPC to update or continue the survey, and so it was felt that was something that we could do pretty quickly because we were already underway. So some of those are in that line, I guess. Space needs a town office building may include that, may involve that also. In any case, we'd particularly like it, or let's say we would encourage the other boards and commissions to do a couple of things. One of them is, if you have projects, if you have goals, if you have ideas that fit well into the, the 67, this is sort of the 67 canonical things. Although in the back of the book here are 67 different objectives that the master plan included, and if some of them could be ones that you know that are important to you, you could fit them into the work of the other groups that are working on the master plan. That would be good, and you know, we on the master plan implementation committee would certainly push for those to be approved quickly, and I think you know, we'd like to sort of see that those got done.
Are there a couple that you can point to that that we may be interested in?
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, I would recommend very strongly that you look at this, you look at these goals. I mean, there's 67 of them. I
But
think
not all having to do with
not all of
conservation.
them obviously having to do with you, but some of them certainly could involve you. I mean, I think you know, in the implementation program details, they list the different boards and committees that might be leaders or
So it is tagged a little bit.
secondly followers on this.
Spending for conservation.
There aren't a lot. I think there should be more. I mean, I would encourage you, particularly, one of the first things, as you see, the very first one on the list is the common. I would encourage you, though you're not listed in any of these Littleton common things, but I would encourage you to, you know, to get involved with that. How you might do that, we got money at the last town meeting, if you were at the special town meeting. We got money to hire a consultant who's going to draw up several alternative plans for the common area seen broadly, because it'll probably extend somewhat down this way and then up, Great Road and some other areas like that. So, you know, I would, you know, encourage you to get involved in that. And you know, when we hire the consultant, to be sure, and I'll try and be sure that we talk to the consultant about, you know, we mentioned to the consultant that the Conservation Commission should be involved. Then if you look in the category of, you know, planned growth, there's a number of areas where, well, I guess you're listed as not a local government leader, but a local government partner in conduct a corridor study for the Great Road for future land uses, open space, and natural resources. And the Conservation Commission is listed as one of the bodies that should be involved in, or that would be involved in that. So I think that's something. And then under things like community health and well-being, there's the update the Aquifer and Water Resource Protection District bylaw. I don't know if this is something that
More drinking water, but.
you sort of feel you wanted. I mean, a lot of these were put in by people who wanted to.
Is there any mention of habitat or anything on any of these?
Probably.
So one time I remember seeing our community gardens, and I think there was something in there about invasive species. But there wasn't.
Evaluate the impact of climate change on natural resources, and that you're listed as the lead agency.
What about also the salt and everything that's being put on the roads into the water areas? The gentleman's name that came in.
Yeah, but salt's better than calcium.
Well, any type of product,
Yeah.
but also
Yeah.
the reduction of
Yeah.
that. I mean, we've talked about that.
And then there's another one,
aspect.
revise the town's open space development bylaw. So there are some things that where the Conservation Commission is listed as a lead or a secondary, you know, group that's responsible. And again, I would encourage you to look at this. This is available. I don't know how many printed copies there are. You know, it's a big fat
I have
book.
one, yeah.
Some of you have them?
Amy.
I have.
Oh, Amy has, I think they're also available on the town website.
Yeah.
You know, it's available in,
I can send you all the link to that, so you don't have to go search
you
for
know,
it.
and that.
Is there a consultant that is looking into the climate change issue and resiliency for the town? And would conservation areas be
Currently, that's not
tied
something,
into that?
you know, we have focused right now on those initial seven
Okay.
items, so that is not one of them. But since it is something there, I mean, encourage you to,
Push for it?
I mean, if you pushed for it, I mean, we would probably support you in sort of getting funding for that, or,
Yeah, there is a sustainability committee who's looking into it. I've run across it as much more towards infrastructure and climate change than, habitat and climate change.
I would think we'd have to look at
Or water
droughts and
resources.
frequency of droughts
Yeah.
or extreme
Have a
storm
good
events.
partnership with water department,
Yeah.
try and look at that.
yeah, I think those are the kind of things that I think you should, that would certainly be worth, your while to consider, because the other thing that I've sort of tried to think about, and I will try and push for this as much as I can as one member, but one thing I've felt for a long time is that we have a lot of town boards which do good work, but they tend not to talk to each other very much. And a lot of these activities are certainly things where a lot of us have common interests, or at least where our interests focus on similar issues. And so, where one of your goals, I think, is to preserve open space. Historical Commission sees this as historic landscapes, and so it's interesting for us as well. Something that's somewhat new in historic preservation, but is something that is very much on the forefront now of.
Part of the corridor.
Yeah,
idea.
certainly would be part of that, so I think that's something that we could, that you could look toward. So those are pretty much the kind of things that I wanted to talk about. I mean, and sort of give you a sort of heads up. I mean, we're not forcing people to do something. I mean, we're encouraging you to work on
No, it is a
projects that are
very helpful
that are
overview for us, for sure.
projects that you want to work on yourselves, but that would fit into the framework of the master plan. I think that's what we see this implementation committee as wanting to do. And again, I would especially emphasize the common, if there are ways that you could fit your interests into
Leave
those.
it alone. Seriously,
Well, there are different ways of leaving it alone, so that's,
seriously, just leave it alone.
so
It's
that's,
a crossroads in town.
Well, did you go to any of the meetings?
No.
Oh,
I
right, well,
lived in town all my life.
it was really interesting what people's ideas. It was-
Yeah.
so a lot of people want to do something about it. Nobody's quite sure
There's
what they
no
want to
land.
do, I
There's no
think.
land
is-
to do anything with.
No, not to expand the comment, but, well, anyway,
Anyways,
there were
so
lots of
that's- yeah.
ideas around it.
Lots of ideas, and
We
it,
gotta, as you recognize, we do have a full agenda.
I had,
but
okay,
we
so
certainly appreciate
I
the
have,
overview.
I've overspent, I over.
Okay, we
Yeah.
appreciate your
Thank you.
diligence in
Okay,
informing
well,
us.
I, encourage you to sort of
Yeah.
keep in touch with us
Yeah.
and, and
We appreciate it.
tell us what
Yeah.
your interests are, and if we can help, particularly in any way, to work our goals together. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
Thank
the
you.
chance to talk to you.
Until you own the
Wednesday.
parcel,
All right.
you don't have any control over what somebody comes in with, what
Resiliency
they
with
want
the
to
water
do.
department and water quality, especially as I looked up spec
Not
pond, that's a
Like
category
The two
5,
roads, the Meeting House Road.
impaired waterway.
And also.
They keep playing with that. You go down there with a line.
That was the main, people's main
Appropriate wet setbacks.
thoughts, were like, make it a pedestrian way.
Anyway,
And
water
encourage
department zoning easement, do you have any idea what that's all
Upgrades.
about?
And no
Yes.
big lawns.
Great.
So, where is it? Here it is. So Corey said, and he might come in the next meeting, so I think we need more details on this. But, the wells over at Cobb's Pond,
Yep.
Yeah.
they got the 3 wells, or we'll have the 3 wells over there. And DEP requires them to basically have an easement over the Zone 1, which is the 400-foot
Zone
radius around it. which of course falls onto at least some CONCOM and Conservation Trust.
Right.
So the attorneys, town council is now writing up potential easement language, which would be added on top of the CONCOM deed. And it's,
There was,
yeah, so, I said, well, what
When-
exactly is the
when
language?
it first went in, there was, when the development first went in, there was easement language that should have already been approved.
Yeah, and it's not easement to build the well, it's easement to
Restrict?
regulate, protect the land. So if for some reason you guys aren't doing your job and there's barrels being stored out there, they have the right to go in and clean it up.
The aquifer protection.
Right, so I don't know what the language is gonna look like. I said I'd at least run it by you, and once Corey has the actual language from town council.
So what's the difference between a zone 1 and a zone 2? Because zone 2 is the contribution of the aquifer. Is zone 1?
Zone 1 is a radius.
Yeah, zone 1 is
Surface.
direct
400,
contribution.
and zone 2 is a little bit more
Zone 2 is the
watershed. Yeah, so it can have more irregular boundaries.
So the drawdown.
The one that could get
The,
impacted
the
there would be
contributing,
Cup.
not directly contributing area. Zone 1 is the directly contributing area. Zone 2 is the
500
wider watershed.
He's far enough away.
And zone 2 can be, up a tributary
look at
type of
the-
thing.
Like anything that contributes to the water.
Oh, I like how my name's still on there. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, a site, that's miles away from the,
Can't get rid of
the
it, huh?
Cambridge Reservoir, but we're, in communication with them for site cleanup because we're, we're part of their,
Estate of
Usually
John
the one-
Morrison, that should be the town of Little, how old is this map?
That was what Corey handed me, and that, because I was like, oh, good, come in and talk to me, because there's a conservation restriction
My
out
name's
there, and
still
it's in
on
your
it, the
name.
estate,
I
it's
have
the
no
town.
idea what property it's on. I think
Oh,
the stuff on
did
the other
you
side
still-
is just,
There was quite a bit of
So-
controversy.
so I've asked the attorneys if they stumble
I'm
across
happy
the
to help
CR.
with this, because I was on the original committee.
Oh, good.
Okay, I suppose we should go along with our regular meeting and come back to these
Yeah.
discussion items. Continue public hearing, notice of intent, 10-foot pond, U 27-18-0, Mass DEP number 204-858, construction of a driveway through isolated
This is
land
David
subject to
Moore. I want
flooding.
the copies of it.
Okay.
So I'll
Yeah.
let you have that one. I can bring another one in the morning.
I've printed one out, so this is
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
Just
Good
not
evening.
color.
William Hall with Stamsky McNary. I'm sure you're all familiar with this project now. It's been before you a few times.
So William, if you can, just go ahead and review where we left off. We left you with some charge to actions for a few things, and
Yes.
if you want to just overview those, and then we can kind of go from there, that'd be
Sure.
great.
So, from the last hearing, like you said, the action items, we're providing an area for snow storage. That was one item that was brought up. And we're proposing a box culvert that's gonna be 2 feet, 2 feet deep, well, high, I guess, yeah, by 4 feet wide.
With the bottom or just no bottom?
With a bottom.
With the bottom?
And that's interior dimensions of it.
No bottom. Okay.
And then we are also proposing plantings in the compensatory storage areas, so I guess they'd be sort of mitigation areas now as well. And we're providing a construction sequence, which is down on that part of the plan. And we're also providing a crushed stone treatment trench along the edge of the driveway, because that was something else that was brought up, that there was no treatment before it went into the resource area. So now this is basically going to be some double wash stone, filter fabric, and then some more stone underneath it to help treat that before it gets into the resource area.
Wait a minute, along the edge of the box culvert, or how's that gonna tie into the box culvert?
So where the box culvert is, there'll be a little bit of a break, so graphically this isn't 100%.
Oh,
So it would be from the edges of the culvert out. This box culvert actually isn't at the low point. I decided to place it at the closest point of the vernal pool, just so that it would be a little bit easier to do a little less work there and place a box culvert than try and do more work and build a higher wall. That was the thinking behind it anyways.
So can we back up, and we may have to add a different color on here as well for the vernal area? Because you're using the term resource through all of this, but specifically, do you want to go through where your vernal area is and
Sure.
also kind of the area that we're accustomed to that for migration and that as well?
So this is the potential vernal pool.
Oh, you mean
That's it.
potential, you would recognize that your client believed that it was a vernal pool. It's not certified, but that you acknowledged openly that it was a vernal pool,
That it-
correct?
That we believe that it's most likely a vernal pool, correct? Yes.
Yeah, if it's not certified, I think the term is potential, is that right? If
Correct.
it's not certified,
Yeah.
it's a potential vernal pool.
Yes.
Okay.
And then this blue color is the isolated land subject to flooding. And we had a slight revision to the calculations, and that came up a little bit. I believe I had mentioned that at the last hearing, and it was about 2 inches. And then I did not highlight the other portion, but this is your isolated wetland, and it roughly follows the isolated land subject to flooding, which is merely a coincidence. And those are the changes that we've made. We also had Dave Crossman from B&C Associates do a Appendix A on the area, and Amy has a copy of that. And along with that, he recommended the plantings, and he also recommended that as a part of the order of conditions, that this be certified in the spring.
Now, as a part of
How can you-
certification, do they also,
You can't, yeah.
so they delineate the outline of it?
And if it's certified.
I'm sorry?
As a part of certifying a vernal pool, they delineate the outline of it, right? Which may or may not be the same as what you have there.
I believe so. Amy, do you have a little more
Well,
experience?
what is shown there in kind of squared off is the vernal pool depression. The habitat is 100 feet from that included, as that is what the definition of a vernal pool, is both the depression and the habitat. So the driveway is in the vernal pool. And then the other issue, which, I'm sorry, it only occurred to me like in the middle of the night last night, is that the vernal pool isn't flagged all the way down to where the wetland, where the mitigation site is, so it's not clear if that's in vernal pool as well, where your mitigation is.
So the vernal pool, potential vernal pool that's documented is just on this side, so we don't seem to have an understanding of where it stops.
Right.
Is that correct? So my understanding that if it's certified, you would not be able to do the work within this area, and you'd be looking at a migration area as well.
It's a single-family house lot, and we don't have any other options besides going through Acton, and that would be, actually, I have, this is the entire lot. So the crossing is in this area, and the only other option would be to come up somewhere in this area, and this is bordering vegetated wetland, and this is a much larger crossing, and there's a lot more buffer zone. And that would be our only option to access the upland on the site. So it would be permittable to go through there, even if it is vernal pool, and it's something that we have done in the past where we filled a portion of vernal pool to access upland for a single-family house.
Can I ask why, what decisions you made to make the box culvert that size?
So we tried to go with something that was obviously a good bit larger than the 12-inch pipe, but not something that was prohibitively large as far as costs go, because they start to get expensive when you get to 8 feet and more for width. They get very expensive real quick.
What about having one without a bottom to it?
That's,
Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna have a bottom on that one.
there's,
I mean, it would be better without a
Yeah,
bottom.
you shouldn't,
there's,
there shouldn't, it should be a natural bottom.
Right,
So that's the best.
Yeah, I was taken back that there is a bottom on that.
there are two things. It's an open bottom culvert requires footings on it, so it's more work to put the footings in. It's a little more disturbance, and it's also more expensive to A, the culvert's more expensive, and B, putting the footings in is as well.
Right, but the habitat, the longevity of the habitat would be able to have a better survival rate with an open bottom.
Well, we
Yeah,
can,
And I would think that the box with a bottom, I mean, the bottom would cover up a lot of the mud and that they.
Yeah, but the next thing is, what kind of footings does he have there to play with? Is it muck soil, or is there a good,
Stable
yeah,
soils or-
that's why you do the.
Or organic.
I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but I'm just, do you know what you've got there for footing material?
we do not know exactly, but given what the site looks like, it's probably gonna be a lot of muck and then bedrock. So it's gonna be one of the two. There's not gonna be much natural soil there.
Do you already do the habitat evaluation?
I don't think
And that
so,
was
because
another
it wasn't,
consideration
um,
in choosing the,
everything was
bottom.
off-season, was my understanding.
Actually, if you had some,
Okay.
the bottom with some
So
natural
can I ask a
materials
question in
thrown in
regards
it, it
to
would probably.
protection guidance that's been outlined for us? So have you already done your detailed wildlife habitat evaluation?
so, the Appendix A is a wildlife habitat evaluation.
And that's what was just submitted yesterday or today?
Today.
Today,
This
Correct.
afternoon.
okay. Because it's very specific in the language that we have to abide by, is that in all resource areas, any direct alteration associated with the certified or documented vernal pool habitat requires a detailed wildlife habitat evaluation. A finding that impacts to vernal pool habitat will not result in any adverse effect, will only occur under rare and unusual circumstances.
So it says certified or documented, so in this case, we
This
have
is
the documented.
Yep, correct. I'll give that to you, so you have reference to that.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
And,
So we've not seen your appendix that's been addressed, because that you've
Yeah.
been
Well,
submitted.
Dave also, he only did Appendix A, which would be if you're not in the vernal pool. He didn't do Appendix B, which is when you're in the vernal pool.
Oh, so
Which-
you
and this
you
is in the- so is
submitted,
the wrong.
what was submitted today?
Appendix A is the simplified version.
Okay.
Appendix B is once you're in the vernal pool.
Okay,
And
So
I'm-
are
Pool,
you-
not the habitat.
both.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we need a B.
So we.
In my
consi-
opinion, I think
You're-
Dave
you're in
said
both.
it's not needed.
Yes, no, I
Yeah,
agree.
You're in both.
there's two reasons for what Dave did. First, and I believe he outlined it in his report, he's of the opinion that us simply saying that, yes, it's most likely vernal pool is not documentation of it being a vernal pool. So he still considers it potential and not being certified or documented as having documentation to be certified.
What kind of documentation do they expect for?
I
Potential
wish he
vernal.
was here to answer that. I didn't get that from him. And the second thing was he also recommended that it be certified in the spring. So I think that was the other reasoning behind him.
So
doing
what
the
is your
A.
time period for this development?
Well, he'd like to move forward as soon as possible.
You're putting the
Obviously,
cart before the horse. You're not gonna certify it and build and then certify it.
well, he wouldn't be able to build like this season. It would be probably July at the earliest.
So he'd certify it before building it, but the plans would be approved before knowing where the exact outline of the vernal pool is, right?
I would.
Cart before the horse.
I personally wouldn't feel comfortable with that. So you're asking us to understand what is there when it hasn't been certified yet.
Or
Is there any
evaluate it
way-
in the right season.
Can you take a step at least to document the vernal pool? And, where, it may not be certified, but you can document, if you could find out what kind of documentation you need and get that, then we'd feel maybe more comfortable.
I don't know, you can do that in December.
That's true, too. You have to wait till the spring, maybe.
I mean, even if.
And what I've been thinking was that they called it a vernal pool. It was documented.
Yeah.
So you can do out-of-season investigations, and look for caddisflies and freshwater mussel, clams and stuff like that. But we never did it because they had stated that it was a vernal pool.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, because that could have been done in August is that when you first applied? August 5th, 6th?
Eighth or something like
In
that.
that area, yeah, yep.
Yeah, he said it was pretty much no doubt that it was. That's what I remember him saying.
He believed that it was definitely certifiable,
Mhm.
so he thinks that it can be, but
So the next step would be the Appendix B, correct? Or no?
Well, it depends on if they consider what we've done or what you've done so far as documented, a documented version.
Yeah, so that's apparently a difference of opinion,
Okay.
right there.
So who
But
determines
I
whether
would
it's
also say is that just because it's a single-family home, that just means that you can be a limited project, and you could get into the vernal pool habitat. The standard that Sarah just read over, that it's gonna be an extremely rare situation, still holds.
yeah, well, I mean, I agree, but I don't think that the preferable option is to come in from Acton and go over the BVW. Acton would laugh at us and tell us to come back here, and he's already checked with his neighbor on this side, and the wetland extends further across the other abutter. So it really is the last option, because he did check with them before we even applied.
I think you would still have to go through, we would be obligated to see all resources utilized, so that you would have to go to Acton and look at that. And you'd have to document with your neighbor. Not all lots are buildable.
Yeah.
And I also think if we're, getting into interpretations as far as what the documented vernal pool is or isn't, there's also, I think part of why this has been, getting kicked down meeting to meeting is, there hasn't been an assessment during the appropriate season, and the things that could have been done weren't, because, I thought we were on the same page with, okay, yes, we think this is the type of resource we're dealing with. We agree that this is the type of resource we're dealing with, and we're gonna go from there. If that's not the case, I think maybe we need some additional assessment, to clear it up, or we need to be on the same page about the resource before we can move forward with what to do.
Right. I think timing, you had a good point mentioning for timing. We do require that documents be presented to the committee prior to the hearing. So if you're asking us to comment on what you've put forth tonight or today, we haven't even had a chance to look at it, nor has our agent, so.
No, I understand that. I was honestly waiting for Dave for his documents, so that's what
Okay.
pushed it
So
along.
you
Well,
can-
he knows
yeah.
that that has to be done
Yep.
prior to the week before.
But I'm interested why he did Appendix A when it has been, you guys have been stating that it's a vernal pool, and what justification he has that it's not documented. I mean, I think you guys need to put together.
Right, I think that's the
What's
question
needed
that
for
he can't
documentation.
Yeah, I
answer.
don't think you can answer
Yeah.
that.
Right.
No,
Right.
I personally
Yeah.
can't, yeah.
No, we understand that. So we're happy to continue this for you. You can always close it and have a vote, but I think you're in a position where you still need additional data.
Okay.
What would you like to do?
Can I say, did you want a cross-section of where the box culvert's gonna be?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
and to look, oh, definitely. Well, I think you even said today, when you first said it, that it's not shown accurately.
Well, yeah, the trench part.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think you need to present back a plan that really is accurate.
Why would you just have the trench part on one side when you can push snow both sides?
Well, the trench is more for the runoff from the rainwater more than anything, because the snow, when it gets pushed, it's gonna get firmed up and.
Right, so for the mitigation areas too.
Right.
So I
'Cause you can't
assume
put
if the
mitigation in the
gravel's
vernal
only
pool.
on one side, that the whole road is tilted that way, tilted toward the
Correct,
gravel.
yes,
Right.
yes, yeah. The whole road is pitching
Mhm.
towards the gravel on either side.
Do you want to bring that up?
Oh,
Yeah, 'cause
just-
that was my other thing I was gonna mention for you.
Yeah, just, well, the one other thing that, if we're done, though, are you done, Anna?
No, I would, give them a laundry list of whatever you want done.
Yeah, no, just
it's
before we
not
switch
coming
gears,
back.
that's all. No, so the back, what Amy had mentioned earlier, the back end of the vernal pool, we do need to know where that is because it, informs mitigation strategy.
'Cause it's not clear if that, the mitigation is in the isolated land subject to flooding already.
Yes.
So I wasn't, and I haven't looked at it closely, I just wasn't clear how that could be mitigation if it's in the resource area.
Okay.
Especially
Yes.
because wildlife habitat is
Yeah.
under the
So-
bylaw, a
So,
threshold.
originally what we were doing was just compensatory storage area, and it was recommended to do some mitigation, so that's where that came from.
Okay. So now we recognize that you can't do that in some of the areas. Where's the back lot line?
Is it that straight
So,
line back there?
yeah, so this is most of the lot, because it goes down to the lake, and that's much further down, but these two are the lot lines. And then it comes to the frontage on 4 Pond Road.
So what is existing there for structures now?
This is a log cabin and a small garage/shed area.
So where's the new place gonna be located?
It would be somewhere in this area.
And what is the reasoning for doing that when you have that?
Because he's doing an A&R to split and then build a new house.
Where's your frontage gonna be?
The frontage would be along 4 Pond Road
For the house there?
for the house.
So you would take the.
But don't you have to prove to Acton that you can get access from Acton, even if you don't build it? Do you know how that works?
I will check that.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we've gone through that, but I'll have to double check because it's been a while.
yeah.
I think
How
I remember
can-
him saying that the existing home was very, very small.
It
I think
is,
I
it's
remember
really
that from
small.
the first, so it was very small, and so I was trying to just.
Yeah, it is really small.
That was what I recall, was the reason.
You're putting access over here, but that's gonna be your access technically.
Frontage, correct, yeah, the legal frontage. But that's not uncommon to have lots that have frontage, but not where you get your access from.
Pork chop.
Bacon strip. I've heard these referred to, that was pretty fun.
Okay, I guess you've
Okay.
got things you gotta take care of and we gotta move along.
Okay, so
Okay.
Amy, so the next meeting is December 18th. So if you would like information to be digested and commented on, you would need to have it in the Wednesday before the meeting at the latest.
So if we're gonna be,
Which is next Wednesday.
Right.
yeah, if we're gonna be flagging the limit of this, then I'd say we need to go to the next
Which is
hearing.
January 8th.
Okay, so we should do that instead.
I'll wait until spring to get a certified vernal pool.
Well, that's something that I'll talk to Dave Crossman about as well and see if that's the route that we need to go down.
Well, or
Okay.
just so we're on the same, I think, in my mind, we need to be on the same page regarding the resources, whether it's an evaluation and a better handle on what it is, or if it's, the interpretation of documentation, whether that's occurred or not. So we need to be on the same page regarding the resources.
Okay.
There it is. We'll see you in January.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dave?
They're in your office.
Actually, probably just Brian, but. But I couldn't see Brian.
Project revision discussion, Lot 30, Durkey Farm, RO 8-15-20,
No colored,
MA
But you did
Mass
the special
DEP 204-804.
Good evening, for the record, Brian Goodrich with Hancock Associates. So this is in regard to Lot 30. Lot 30 is, to orient yourself with the locust map up at the top corner. You have open space E, Lot 7, Lot 30. The prospective buyers want to put up a fence
Now, Wetland H is the farm pond, right?
It is.
Okay.
And the fence will be 6-foot white vinyl stockade. And
Where
that's-
is that where's that wildlife
Right,
strip?
where's the habitat, the
Uh,
open
where's
area,
that?
so,
So open space is here, so this is
but
the
isn't
property.
there a migration easement in there somewhere as well?
Not, I mean, open space E is open space E, there's not a defined wildlife access corridor.
You can kind of see
Yes,
it
there
shaded,
was.
you can see it shaded right here.
Yeah.
It's across Fraser Street, would be this one, and then across Spruce Street, on
Would be-
lot 24.
Would be going to the farm pond.
Right, but again, all of open space, this whole section over here,
Yeah,
they can migrate through. So it would be limited to just the backyard.
I don't think,
And
I
the
think
orange is the fence?
The orange is the fence, correct?
I'd wanna see it staked out first. And I think the whole purpose of this is in order for migration to occur. And if you're gonna put a fence in to the ground, you're not even gonna let any of the small animals go through.
This is the only lot in the subdivision that has a fence being proposed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so far.
Yes.
So,
Sure.
I'd wanna see it
Yeah, I
staked
did
out.
notice, I think, a fence up at the end, but it's outside the buffer zone.
There is?
Y-
On lot
Guess
8?
we still don't know what's going
I
on.
can't
with
remember the lot
Farm Pond.
numbers
Yep.
offhand.
Right as you drive down.
I thought I
the
saw a
right-hand
fence
side.
back there. Yeah, there's something back there. It's outside the buffer zone, but it's,
I think if we
It's
had
up
a
against
I think
K.
if we had a clear understanding of what's going on with the farm pond and everything out there, I think there's issues out there that are still outstanding to
Mhm.
understand the complexity of that open space. So, at the present time, I wouldn't support it, but if the commission wants to have them go out and stake it,
Which we would be happy to do.
So wait, so I can't tell, it's hard to tell by this. Okay, 30, it comes within 30 feet of the,
Correct. So the silt fence line is the limit of work on, and the fence is proposed essentially at the silt fence line, and then heading
because this was all before the
parallel
bylaw,
with the house.
that's before the regulations.
Correct.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Sarah, in my own mind, that
well, you're in
I
the
want to
buffer
see
zone.
that farm pond addressed before we go
And you're
voting
in the,
on
and you're in
anything
the buffer
else.
zone.
yeah.
No, you're in the buffer zone too.
That has not been addressed.
Understood, so we're
And
going.
as a point of reference, if we're talking about anything associated with Turkey, to make note that we still don't have our water levels that have been submitted. That's been requested since, I think, July.
Has Dave given you anything?
No.
I was under the impression.
And
that
then
he
would
had.
also like to go on record commenting that we still have a request for groundwater analysis with the farm pond, which involves core sampling.
Because didn't it flood again?
Yep.
Yeah, got flooded and then pumped.
And did it go down again?
They pumped it.
Yeah,
pump-
there's currently, it's.
So it
it's
didn't go
back
down
at
by
that-
itself, you had to pump it out again?
I believe Dave.
No,
can
they
speak to
pumped it
that.
right away, so
Yeah.
Hard to tell.
don't know if it would have been out by
So I
itself or
understand
not,
that you
but-
guys are meeting with the planning board.
On
this-
Thursday.
On Thursday, so I'd also like to go on record that we'll submit a letter to the planning board with the commission's support that we're still looking for water level data on the pond, systematic since the summer, and then also that we're still looking for additional test pits, which would be core drillings, not surface water and groundwater. Really want to know what's going on in there.
So
which-
I believe
which
we'll
we've-
be prepared to speak to that, the next meeting.
So you're
after
bringing the data,
Thursday.
so you've already done that,
So we have not done any additional borings or corings.
so there won't be much to talk about then.
And I actually also want to take this opportunity to mention, Dave has been very good about keeping me informed about when these properties have sold, and that the new owners have read, they've submitted that stuff. One of the conditions was that they actually meet with the commission, not just me, so
Right.
do you still want to, at some point, have a
We
open
just-
house here for the new owners?
It's great, do it all at once, then they
Yeah.
all meet one another.
Because that'd be the same thing with the Cooper people also. That was the
Yeah.
same condition in
Perfect.
there. Although I think right now, the only owners
Give 'em a
in
little
Cooper
handout.
are
Right.
other builders. It'll be the usual cast of characters back here.
Okay.
So I'll mention that to Dave, that if he wants to corral new owners and start getting them in. Okay.
Okay.
So the 18th?
18th, yeah. And was there consensus, do you want this staked out so you can see it in the field?
Want that farm pond addressed.
Understood. With respect to lot 30 and the fencing, is that something
Is the
that?
fence
think
within the
commission-
buffer zone?
Yes.
It is.
Now, what is this impervious
the-
area table here on this? The-
So that was when we had shifted from the generic footprint to the footprint of the houses, and that's essentially all the impervious areas that are tributary to each individual resource area. If you recall, we submitted lots 9 through 14, I believe, for minor modifications in addition to lots 7 and 30, which is specific to open space E, and
So,
then we
can I ask a
submitted
quick question, though?
24
So
through 20.
This is dated 6/27. You
Rear
had
vision.
infield changes. Do these elevations and everything represent what is there presently?
Yeah, generally speaking, that should be what the lot configuration is. This was revised 11/29.
But I think
We had
Sarah's wondering
back in
about the
September.
grading.
The grading,
Yeah.
when was
The
this
north-
when was this
north
reshot
corner.
as an as-built?
It was not, grading was not reshot as an as-built.
Okay.
They're kind of working on it now. There's a foundation in? I can't remember if they've started that one or
Yes,
not.
I believe the foundation's in. I know we had staked out the envelope.
I wouldn't entertain even staking out the fence until you give us a plan that is accurate to what's out on site.
So we have never updated any of the notice of intent plans with a full existing conditions
You're
plan.
asking to modify and to add something onto the land. So if you're gonna add that, we would wanna see what the contours are presently.
So why does it say net reduction to wetland H?
Over what was approved?
So,
So essentially,
can
we had an
reshoot that?
approved plan from 2016 that showed a generic house footprint on all the lots along with a generic driveway. As prospective buyers identified the actual houses that they wanted, we updated the notice of intent plans, and in aggregate, all of the new houses, new driveways are less impervious area.
They may have moved.
Exactly, they shifted
So
around
that
a little
way-
bit.
And that's why I kind of fall back to this, is that I would like to have a plan that is current to this particular lot.
But wait, that last revised date is for the fence, it's not the last revised date. Yeah. Yeah. I say, wait a minute, that just happened. Never mind.
Okay. Okay, we're here for the next one too.
think we have room come back in.
Continue public hearing, notice of offense 119 Russell Street, RS-4-0, Mass DEP file number 24-862, redevelopment of existing commercial property in the buffer zone.
Good evening. So, for the record, Brian Goodger with Hancock Associates, along with Dave Powell, our senior wetland scientist, also with Hancock Associates, and then we have Bob Lockett and Matthew Blackham, representing workers. So, we left off the last meeting that we were going to define a vegetation management plan to propose essentially a naturalized buffer and a transition buffer out here adjacent to the wetlands. And since the last meeting, we went on a site walk with a number of the commissioners and kind of walked through that plan. So this evening, I'd like Dave to just go through the plan itself in detail and kind of describe and rehash essentially what the conversation that we had on site was with respect to tree clearing and restoration work.
Let's talk about the trees first.
Yep. What, about what's coming down or what's going in?
Because when we were out in the field, there were extra flags that you pulled off that were there for your purpose, not
Oh,
for
right.
our purpose. So that way we understand
Yes.
collectively that we're all on the same page from when we were out there.
Okay.
What's coming down.
Okay. So what's proposed on the side
And
facing?
also, did you hear from DEP, MassDOT, in terms of access?
Not yet, so that's gonna be a little bit of a process, and we've released Ken Cram, he's our traffic engineer, to start facilitating that based on essentially this vegetation management plan that's gonna be coupled to the permit with DOT. So that is in process.
Might take a while.
So on the side of the actual office building and development, we had proposed, there's 13 trees total that will be coming out. These are primarily red maple. There was one or two, there was one that actually looked like an apple species, which was really odd. And then there was one other ash, I think, that was over there. But otherwise, all red maples. Most of them are about 14-inch diameter breast height, which is the diameter of the trunk. And on the opposite side, the trees that are probably most in question are, we had identified 4 trees. As it turned out, one of the trees that we had identified as an 11-inch maple was actually a cluster of 3 trees, all of them around the same diameter. So quantitatively, it would be a total of 4, 5, 6 trees. The trees, one of the things I intended to bring was a photograph representative of where the hole in the vegetation is. What we're trying to do is minimize tree clearing on the opposite side by taking advantage of a window in the vegetation. We actually had some of our staff travel northbound on 495 to see what it looks like from the opposite direction, to see if we would receive the exposure to the signage in the facade of the building as we had intended. And we identified a window where there are a few trees that are obstructing the view, but it really minimizes the tree clearing. So the total of 5 trees includes, there was an 11-inch ash, there was a red maple, which is actually on the 495 side of things. There's one mature red maple that's about 32 inches in diameter breast height. As part of the management plan, I proposed that we would actually cut that at 12 to 15 feet height and leave a trunk in, which would decay and become habitat for decay species. So that's it in terms of the quantity of trees that are coming down. What we're proposing in terms of enhancements are, it's basically going to be a combination of native species plantings and invasive species management. On the side facing the development, we've taken a swath, I've divided into different zones based on what's appropriate to grow there. I think one of the better features of this is taking advantage of the entire frontage that is currently existing as manicured lawn to the edge of water line, is to take, I believe is a 5-foot width, 10-foot width, the entire width of this, where we had proposed to, we're going to strip the top 1 inch of topsoil, and all that is basically to scarify the soil and remove some of the existing lawn to prep it for plantings. And then we have a planting schedule that includes, I forget the quantity, it's on the magnitude of maybe 400, 500.
3 something.
Like over 500 emergent species and I think 44 shrubs. You just want to double check that
Right.
number, but like
And this is,
500.
this was, I think it's a really good opportunity in the sense that in coordination with the applicants had expressed a concern that it would defeat the purpose by taking trees out to plant any shrubs that would grow at a height that would prevent or provide impediment to the view. But it's an opportunity to install emergent vegetation, which is a habitat that's not really found out here. Most of the banks where you have shrubs are sort of steep gradient embankments with shrubs perched on top of it. But to transition this area into emergence vegetation supports several wildlife species that are otherwise don't have habitat for in this wetland system. And it's species like swampweed, boneset, Joe pieweed. These are all emergent plants that will grow maybe 4 feet in height. It would be managed on an annual basis just to, well, it'll be part of the invasive species management that we're proposing to come and treat and remove loosestrife within this area and just keep the area at a certain height.
But we're not going and cutting any of that down. So within the first 10,
Right.
I appreciate the first part, but I
Right.
don't appreciate the second, so you're not gonna come in and cut it all down.
No, it would be,
manually.
it would be invasive species and noxious weeds. Of course, you know, we have, there's undesirable plants that might begin to encroach there.
Right, but we're not
Select
gonna
them.
whack it
Not
all
mowing,
down
no,
to
not
the-
going with
So we
a
wanna be,
weed whacker or a lawnmower. Yeah.
That's just the grass area, right?
that's the first.
The
part.
first 10
10
feet,
feet.
Right,
which
that's
are,
grass.
these are,
Yeah.
Yep.
Essentially.
exactly, yeah. So these are all, it brings diversity of native plants in there. It provides habitat for several
You don't
species.
have grass right up against a wetland.
Right. Yep. So it also improves water quality in sense of, you know, receiving more vegetative buffer between the office building and the downgrade inside. The second area we have identified is, you can sort of see, the arrow is actually a great thing. Because in the area, you can see these areas that turn brown, which is where it changes from the lawn area to shrubs. And in these areas, there are some species that are desirable species, silky dogwood, sweet pepper bush. And what the proposed plan for these areas is primarily invasive species treatment. There's a lot of multiflora rose and glossy buckthorn, which are invasive species. And to remove those invasive species and replant with shrubs, I think it was maleberry, there's so many plants that I put in the spec.
That's where we were looking for really the berries, the nourishment, to put in things that will also pollinate, and
Yeah.
that's where you can be a little bit more diverse down there.
Right. So these are, all the species that we specified in here are, they're, most of them, I tried to put facultative species because it does transition very rapidly,
Very
quickly up. So they're facultative species that will grow as well, and they don't really discriminate. But they are good habitat species in terms of fruit and berries, nesting habitat for bird species.
I was surprised, though, to see you're gonna take down a lot of the trees there. I had thought during our site walk, you said that you would keep the trees within the 10, at
I
least.
think we were
within
gonna
the
try
10
and
foot.
keep a couple of those because of the shade that they were offering over there as well.
We did identify 2 trees over here in addition to essentially all the trees on this side.
But I thought it
Is
was
not
more
being
than
cut.
2 that were gonna remain on that side.
On
Is
the,
it, why do you need to take those down? I mean, is that also a visibility from the road?
it is,
Isn't that just a view to the parking lot?
No,
Yeah, so that's past the building though.
right,
past the
but what happens is there's a series of 3 trees in this area right here that essentially blocks the entire end, the view from the southern, 495
Right,
southern.
so taking out 3 trees, but I think the question was, why are we taking out all of them?
These are going to be incidental to the building for the most part, and again, now we're getting back into that view
No, I
shed.
understand those 2, but beyond that.
So, yeah, so
There. Why are there
we
only
did
2 left there?
identify 2 that we could save, and then there's
There's so many
3.
others.
There's 3 additionals that are towards the end of the building that block the,
And then there
More
are
than
There are
one.
13
and then,
altogether.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah,
directly
there's
at the,
more
pro-
than 5.
Mhm, that are adjacent to that.
So that's the second area. The third area is, this came out of, to fruition during our site walk, is just beyond the wetland area as it transitioned to upland. We're proposing to do a native wildflower mix, which this is an area that was proposed to be lawn originally. Through discussions with the Conservation Commission, it was asked why we can't naturalize more. So the wildflower mix is sort of not a compromise. Again, I think it's beneficial to both parties, the commission and the applicant, in the sense that it would beautify the property a bit by having floral growth there. But it's also native species that are beneficial to pollinators, butterflies, bees, and also provides additional vegetative buffer. which
And
I
that
think-
particular part is after the regs, so it's within the 50-foot.
Correct.
That's another reason.
Yes.
So basically, we're proposing a 10-foot naturalization with wetland species, then 10-foot transition that's not manicured lawn. So for 20 feet plus from the edge of the wetlands into the buffer zone, that is going to remain,
You do offer some good shade to that wetland,
or
that's right there.
restored, I should say.
I don't think all of them have to come down.
They manage them by trimming.
So,
Would that work?
I guess let's back
Take
up
the-
so we
Yeah.
can get on the same page. So how many How many trees are coming down on this, like from here to here?
So 2 were indicated to be cut that will remain, and there's 1, 2, 3 right here that are blocking view shed. There are some in the footprint of the building or at the footprint of the building.
It's like 3 or something.
Yep, that have to come down. And then there's another,
More
It
than,
might be easier to see on this plan, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my photo that I took that day. It looks like there's more
Doesn't
than a
go
couple.
quite far enough.
Yeah.
So each of the trees, well, this is the 50-foot,
The second half of it.
yep.
So, I don't think the ones in question are in the building footprint at all. We
Yeah.
recognize those need to go. I think what we're asking for is when we look at the series that all go down that do offer the buffer and some wind and sunblock to the wetlands, there's quite a few trees that go down there
Yes.
that were all marked to be removed. And I think what I just heard you say is that you've isolated 2 that can remain. But
Correct.
there's
Over
more
here.
than
Yeah,
5.
there's more
and
than
there's,
5.
yeah, there's 3 right here that were, again, associated with the sight lines to the end of the building. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 right there, that 2, probably 3 are incidental to building construction. This is right in front of that sign element. And then there's 3 right across from, our proposed.
So but what you're
Three
saying is that after this 3, how many more are
Mhm.
there?
We're not, that's
It's
it.
toward the end, the far end.
So these 2 we're proposing to remain, and there are 2 pine trees on the bank parcel, that we did indicate to come down, but it was.
It seemed like more than that, although you.
It's misleading because the shape of the building is extending, the proposed building extends out so much, so the majority of the trees.
So
you
but
would
you're
see-
saying that all those are the ones that need to come down because they're blocking the view. You can reference it by the parking lot,
Yeah, those 3, I believe, are these 3 right here.
Yeah.
and there's none past that.
There are 2 additionals
So
that.
those are staying.
Those
Those are
staying,
staying,
yeah.
exactly. And that's when we get into kind of the bushy areas and where we're
Right,
proposing
the shrub.
to do restoration.
I mean, it looked like, and maybe it's because all the flags were blue, but it looked like all of them were coming out. I
They
didn't
are,
see that.
except for 2.
It wasn't obvious which 2 were the ones.
The 2 that are on
They're-
the
they're-
parking lot.
Yep.
Once they're down
On-
by the basketball net, I think,
Yeah.
right?
By the
Yeah.
basketball.
On this side, these, all the blue ones were flagged to be removed. These 2 were not flagged
Seemed like more
during
than-
the sidewalk.
We just didn't walk that far down. We looked at that for.
I should have counted.
Why are the pine, why are the pines marked for removal? I think we started getting into it. The 2, like,
The
where-
bank, so they're directly behind where the bank's gonna be, so they're.
This is, these are grading, proposed grading?
Correct.
Okay, so they
So-
can't stay because they'll encroach on the building?
Yeah, again, it's gonna be that view, to the bank itself. So we had only identified those
To
2
the-
trees.
To the bank?
Yep.
So I think what we're hearing is that there's quite a few trees that are coming down, and we're modifying the interior of the wetlands, but that we're not getting any taller shade cover on some of this area. So I'm certainly not asking you to put in trees that are going to be too tall, but I think that we could look at some replication of some of the trees that would offer some shade over there. I'm concerned that we're gonna be adding a lot more heat over there now
Right.
without those trees.
A lot of
Yeah.
DO,
If you're taking
a
all
lot of
those-
Yeah.
Right, bringing the
Vegetation.
heat coming off that parking lot.
Yep.
So-
We'd have to-
We are also pulling that parking lot 26 feet further from the existing edge of pavement right now.
Right, but those
in its
trees all
entirety.
shaded that parking lot.
So I don't the parking lot by being hotter would
No, I'm
have-
talking about both areas, so.
Oh, right.
You're going to change the
Heat
temperature of
island.
that area.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that it's insignificant in terms of the temperature change in this area. It's not vernal pool habitat, it's not a cold water fishery. I don't know how the volume or the minor change in sun exposure would have an impact on the ecosystem itself. I'm just struggling to see
Can you
the impact.
Well, can you look at it again and see at least the closest to the wetland? Try seeing if you can keep more trees that are the closest to the
I don't
wetland.
What
think
is
you
the
can, I
chance
think
of
you
the-
can, because
what is-
Yeah,
the
they're all sort
building
of-
ones have to come out.
Right.
Well, no, the building, I'm not talking about the building ones, I'm talking about beyond.
Well, these two that are closest
yeah.
are the ones that we're retaining.
We can,
These are the furthest away.
What are the chances, what are the chances of
We're at 40
managing
we're
the
at 40
trees
feet.
as far as trimming them?
Well, I'm sorry.
it's as
What
tall
are
as
the
we can go.
chances of managing the trees by trimming them?
Vista pruning.
Yeah,
No, I think it would be at the detriment of the health of the trees, and I don't think that would
when did that kill a
provide.
maple?
What's that?
When did that
Well,
kill a
I don't
maple?
think it has the effect of removing the line of sight issue that we have just by pruning limbs off of it. Is
But
not
we're
by
giving you
thinning it.
your line of sight here. We're talking further down. I don't,
These
trees
three
are-
here?
Yes, those trees are not really that tall.
So we
No,
can,
they
we
are.
can take another look at those handful of trees.
We recognize that the ones that here definitely need to go, they're gonna
Right.
be impacted by the footprint, but.
We can we can revisit it. Again, it's site exposure, I think, is the primary concern. And
Right,
even
but
if we were to
we're dealing with
replace.
your site exposure over here.
Right.
So we've made allocations to that. But now when we're saying we're dealing with site exposure from here over to the other building, you're taking out the pine trees, you're taking out everything else. I think you could be a little bit more conservative with that.
Okay.
We can take another look at that.
Yeah.
But other than that, we appreciate the
Right.
accommodations that you've made with your plantings and.
Can I ask, would the commission entertain, because I know the height is one of the primary concerns, if we were to install shrubs or something at a lower level that still provide shade at a quantity greater than like 1-to-1, where it's either 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 shrubs for each tree that came out?
I'd like you to look at both.
They grow to a,
Both.
Yeah.
If you can retain
Well,
trees, that's what we prefer.
okay,
but
first and
We'll,
foremost,
we'll revisit that area.
A combination.
all right,
I think we're amenable to a combination.
okay.
Shade, temperature.
Thinking crabapple would work in there.
Crab apples, they are good habitat trees for birds. They're not native, though.
And then you get
There
the
is-
mice that
Oh,
wanna
they're
eat them
messy.
all. Yeah.
They are messy,
Really
yeah,
messy.
yeah. They're tough.
Could have
This-
rat
Visiting the
poison.
bank.
We have
There's one good
across,
looking.
we have one across the fence that we're gonna keep, maybe.
Right, yeah, right over, right near the
Over
maple. I was
there.
gonna comment that on the right of way, there's
We've
a
got
crab
one.
apple over there.
And I was surprised that nothing ate any of them.
Oh.
You
Yeah,
know,
all the
they're-
fruit were still on the tree. It was odd that they hadn't been
Yeah.
all taken.
And the deer hadn't found them.
Right,
Well, they probably found the cars first.
and, okay, I think we've
Yeah, I think it-
covered this side. So on the opposite side, what we had planned over here, these were it's
Yep.
shown as 4 trees. Again, I'll reemphasize that the 11-inch maple here is a cluster of 3 trees, all of which are about 11 inches in diameter. Um,
The
What's that?
total of which or each?
Each one is about,
Yeah,
each is
yeah.
approximately 11
Yeah.
inches. They're all, there's a cluster of 3 of them.
I think we were all big shocked when the big huge tree down the end was marked, and then,
Oh, that's-
then you told
I
us
had to
it was
explain-
just
right.
for your surveying, but.
Yeah.
yeah.
All of the blue flags that I hung on this side were the ones that were coming out. What I hadn't done was, yeah. I had, they're shown here as existing and being retained, but when I did my initial survey, I hung them all in blue flags with the species and
Yeah.
diameter, so survey could locate them on the
Right.
plan for our assessment. But I hadn't pulled all the
Here's
flags
good.
out
You
there.
need to get another
so
color flag.
pretty easy, yeah. No, obviously, when the time comes, we would, either use paint or
Yeah, I
something,
think
or
we're
be out
gonna
there
be-
monitoring with
yeah,
them. and
exactly.
Do not cut this tree.
But as you stated, it might not be you that's out there monitoring, so our order of conditions
Right.
will be very specific to that.
Yeah, that's one of the things where, the gray area between where my planting plan ends and the order of conditions begins is that it's hard for me to mandate, so that's important.
Absolutely, and
for
just
the
like
order
some of the
conditions to-
things that we talked about in
detail
terms
those.
of monitoring biannually for at least 3 years.
Right.
So, and reporting. So.
I had made some recommendations in the report, but again, that's entirely at the
Right.
commission's purview to condition. schedule and expectations. So, to compensate for the loss of these 4 or 6 trees, this is 3, we have a planting plan for, again, shrubs to fill in here. And these shrubs will grow to a height of maybe 12 feet, some of them maybe 15 feet at maturity.
And we were gonna try and get some of those invasives.
Yes,
Cut.
invasive species treatment over here is
One tree
one of the
that's just-
primary things. Yeah, Oriental bittersweet is absolutely prevalent throughout here, and some of the Oriental bittersweet is really at the detriment of the existing trees that are out here. These aren't your sapling vines, these are, old growth Oriental
Tarzan
bittersweet.
rope.
Right, right.
Yeah, I've
And it's a
seen
very
some like
woody
that.
vine, I
Yeah.
mean, it looks like,
Yeah,
you
no,
have a
it's-
6-inch diameter
Make
woody vine.
furniture
that
out of
goes
them.
up there.
Yeah, but what's gonna stop it from growing, period? I mean, you've already gonna have the seed there.
Right, so it's,
Have to keep at it.
invasive, that's why there's a period of 3 years of treatment, and it
Take
could
more
be,
than that.
right. It's really is difficult to eradicate entirely. Treatment, eradication are 2 different things. We're not promising eradication, that's impossible to promise. With treatment, it should be better, by removing all of these, and treating it for a period of 3 years of cutting it. In the invasive species management plans, species like Japanese knotweed or other species, it is beneficial to cut and remove these species before they go to seed, so you don't have the next year. I've seen people treat Japanese knotweed after they've already gone to seed, and it's, well, you already have another annual lead of seed drop in the soil.
Yeah.
It doesn't make-
Yeah, but you're
Different
encouraging the
species.
birds, which spread it anyway.
Encouraging birds, to feed on the seeds?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just gonna be an ongoing management
so-
Well,
problem.
the point is,
It's gonna be
when you
1-3
manage them
years.
you have to do, depending on what species you have,
Right.
frequent enough inspections and then treatment.
Right.
And usually that can be, you can time it to be once or twice a year. depending on
Actually, the
species.
town of Harvard, on their conservation, they had somebody come in and spray the stuff. And it looked like a desert for a year or so.
Yep.
But they got rid of the stuff. I don't know if you can with the wetlands, but,
Yeah.
but they got rid, it cleaned it up.
It's tough. It really is, even professionals can't promise eradication.
No,
They can only promise treatment and, thinning it, minimizing it, reduction of invasive species, but they can't promise. And even if you did, there's introduction from other, the next bird that eats
Yeah.
Japanese knotweed poops on the site, you have it back. It's impossible to promise eradication.
But I think it's gonna be on more than 3 years.
Well, that's
Management
what
there's
should be
gonna be
written
so Amy,
into
we'll
it.
have to look at that.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be a permanent O and M
It needs to be
on the
affordable.
site regardless, and I believe
Yeah,
there
but it needs to
was
be
this,
reasonable too.
I believe there was discussion of expansion of the bank parcel, the existing order of conditions, they have, an O and M on it,
Mhm.
and to extend that into perpetuity, to maintain the field annually, to do these inspections biannually.
And also any of these plantings to keep them trimmed, so you're not,
Correct.
over a period of time, they have an open window to keep the stuff managed.
Right.
Agreed.
I was wondering, there's a fence that's all along the wetland right now.
Yeah, so I
That's
believe
part
we
of
had
the-
gone back and
Come out?
forth
Yeah,
on
it
whether
is.
or not, the
Stay.
commission wanted it out
keep
or
it.
The
not.
state?
At least
That
the one,
prevents
No,
all
no,
the
no.
animals from going into the field.
The
and-
495 fence, there's nothing we can do about the fence that's in the wetland proper, that's in the standing water.
One that's
I think
literally
that
in there.
was the discussion piece
That's the one at the far end
Yeah.
over here.
over in that area. And
We specified it to come out. I don't know if there's anything prohibited to that.
did.
Just access.
There was a call out, note 14. Note 14 says, remove all remnants of old metal fence from within the wetland.
Oh, good.
So it's coming out,
So it was, yeah, it's.
but
it's-
not the 495 fence, that's.
No, that's, yeah,
Which
that's
one
the
is that? Is that?
That's
Let's see if
the
they
one-
notice.
Yeah.
I would love it if that was gone.
Not if you're driving there with a deer coming through it.
Right. So there's the invasive species component, there's the shrubs, and we threw in a few other just features. I threw in a turtle nesting habitat, which is essentially it's a low-hanging fruit. It's you excavate a hole and backfill it with sand.
you
turtles.
really wanna encourage that?
But they're
Nesting
so
turtles?
cute when they're that big.
Yeah, we have a real problem on 119 with a turtle. The state came in and put fencing to keep them out of the road. because it would
These
get
are gonna be
squashed.
more like snap
Right.
brush.
Location, I mean, this is,
Going to
again,
495.
It's not to keep them out of the road, it's to keep them from being killed. That's why they
Well,
put
it's
the
both.
fence in. Well,
You get a big snapper
But it's
crossing
to keep them from
495,
being
it's gonna
killed.
cost a mayhem.
well, yeah, but that was the highest killing area in the state.
Turtle soup.
What was 119?
Yes,
Really?
that area in 119, I was involved in that mortality project, and
Yes, and also,
Okay.
they did
anyways.
it to
Yeah.
protect the turtles, not to prevent accident. Well, I mean, it may have had that effect too.
prevent
but
turtle mortality.
Is to
yeah.
prevent turtle mortality, that's why it was put in.
that's why, where they're
So-
gonna put the tire place in, we told them to put a fence in the back of the parking lot, so they
Right.
wouldn't be getting out into the parking lot.
And get killed.
Those turtles are not
That's-
gonna make it
that's
all the
what-
way over here.
Yeah, yeah,
They do.
anyway.
Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell. And again, we're open to discussion. If you have any questions or
So what are
comments.
the only outstanding, the trees, the plantings we've reviewed, I think?
Green is doing the stormwater review, and I think they'll have that for the December 7th planning board. I had asked Luke if he had any update today, which he sent me. I said, you see any red flags? And he said, I haven't seen any red flags yet, but they're not done.
What was the final discussion on the loading
Out of blue
dock
flags.
area? Are we going pervious, impervious?
So what we did on the loading dock is we shifted the dumpster, which actually isn't indicated on this specific plan, but it is on the other plans. We moved the dumpster to be adjacent to the parking lot itself.
Is it fenced in and covered?
It is, yep, it's fenced in
So
and
the
covered.
same
now,
parameters as the other property
correct.
that we kind of talked about?
Yep.
Okay.
So that's gonna eliminate essentially using the loading dock at all. And additionally, if the commission still felt that they wanted access restricted further, we could put a chain across it or something. But we don't want to go back to an impervious surface in that area. We want to maintain it as, yeah, our cover calcs, yeah, it is.
Did we talk about cleaning up out by the street too?
Maybe?
No, we didn't cover that, but again, that's something that can be conditioned for, there was a lot of rubbish over here on the
It just
roadside.
needs, yeah, right closest to the wetlands, it just needs to get cleaned up.
Okay.
Yep, yeah,
And
we'd
we
be happy to
would
put that
certainly
in.
welcome that as a condition.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of conditions. We talked about lighting. I'm hoping that this is not gonna be lit up like a retail 24/7, that it's gonna be,
So it's an office,
Direct-
it's an office building. The only time you're gonna see lights are at the tail end of the workday.
so
How
the
about the
parking lot
sign?
gonna be
The
illuminated all
the
night?
sign will be.
Isn't gonna be a neon thing, is it?
It is not, it'll be downlit by LEDs.
All the time?
Wait, you said it was
So the
neon?
parking lot,
Is that what you said?
No, it
No,
won't
no,
be.
no.
Oh, okay. I thought it was nodding, yes, it was a neon. Sorry, sorry.
No, the town's 11 o'clock, period.
it's not, there's no retail going on
Yeah.
at that time.
How does IBM deal with their parking lot?
It's dark,
Yeah, I think it's dark.
yeah.
The points
So-
off, market basket, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
There's no crime here.
Oh, I know what I'm doing Friday
I saw
night.
number one, Nashua, New Hampshire was rated the least amount of like, it was the safest number one. I was like, really?
Not a
Nashua.
chance.
Yeah, they
Yeah, I
talked,
don't believe
yeah,
it.
they had all these different parameters, so, right, so if we can look at that, because.
Yeah, we'll look at that,
We wanna
yeah.
make sure, especially over here with wetlands.
Are there cutoffs on the outer
Yeah, the
lights? So
full
there's-
cutoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but, sounds like you wanna.
Are you gonna be able to point
Yeah,
light
well,
down on your sign?
So,
They're all-
yeah,
they're
it'll
all
be downlit
Down.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
on the building signage.
Okay. We meet again December 18th.
Yes, I'd started cranking on some of these, so I don't know if there's anything you want to just look at it next time, or order conditions potential.
Yep.
Everything was kind of rising in my
I don't think
head.
there's gonna be any surprises. It's all things that we've talked about in the field and part of our discussions here. I don't foresee any surprises.
So what we're being tasked with is we're gonna look at the handful of trees and the vegetation restoration, and then apparently lighting timing, to understand that a little bit better so we can give you an answer.
I know the other one was, do you want any fencing, signage, stones, whatever, so that that stuff is gonna get what, mowed once a year?
I think
Oh,
we
yeah,
talked
we were
about
talking about
putting something in just for awareness, but it could also be, you know, just letting people know that it isn't mowed, but why it's there. It's kind of like acknowledging that you've created your habitat.
Right.
So for the people that are, you know, in the office building, so that they don't go walking down through there and picking the wildflowers or
Right.
the berries and things like that, so.
Yep.
Just to be able to say that it's a restoration, I mean, it's a nice,
Heads up
it's,
for ticks, that'll really
Yeah.
keep people.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
usually,
Yeah,
yeah.
let them out of there.
Tick habitat.
yeah.
So I-
It might even just smaller, lower profile, something that could go in seasonally.
4x4, like,
Yeah, just
4x4
something.
stick.
Yeah.
I think it's like, you know, corporate goodwill too, you know, as
Yeah.
far as
It is, yeah.
the way companies are.
Yep.
So we'll take a
Especially if
look
you're
at
gonna do
materials.
things for the butterflies and
Right.
there's many that just have separate butterfly areas as well, so
Right.
it would give you an opportunity for awareness.
Work for morale,
Um,
corporate stewardship.
So
garden-
we'll,
Garden, a community garden.
Yeah.
So we'll look at that and have something for next meeting,
Okay,
in terms of material sizing, verbiage, things like that.
okay.
Okay, so we're all done
And
with this?
I wasn't sure about the test pit infiltration basin stuff. Their comment and your response is you're gonna do the test pit later, before construction. Was that
Exactly.
just the one that's on the other lot, or was it for this?
We have testing over the entirety of the parcel, just not specifically where our infiltration practices are
Yeah,
located.
yeah.
So what's gonna happen is, prior to construction, we're gonna be running double ring infiltrometer test
Oh,
that
great.
determines hydraulic connectivity of soils
Yeah.
to validate
I don't know if
essentially
that's what that
design.
indicates.
Did I send you that text? Okay, so that was right, okay, I just wasn't sure if the language was right.
That's straight out of the
That was
handbook.
just-
What are the pipes
Yeah.
that we found? We have to locate those
Oh,
on.
the
Roof
downspouts.
drains?
Yep,
Is that
so
one?
there's one right here.
But there are 4, right?
Yep, there's one right here. I think there were actually 3. I had misspoken during our site walk.
Lift them up
And there's
on
one
the
right here.
plan, or does that say that it's there?
So if we look at
It's not the plan.
the plan set, we're calling that
Only
to be cut. and
2 are getting
abandoned
cut
as-
and 2 are staying in, correct?
So one is being removed and 2 are being maintained.
this
So
roof
there's only
drainage?
3, not 4. This is a roof drain here, this is a parking lot drain, this is a parking lot drain.
So we're
Where's the
taking,
roof going now?
It just goes right into the wetlands.
Oh, I thought you were removing that.
We are.
Oh,
Yeah.
where is it going
Yeah.
now, though?
It
I
will
mean,
be
ne-
proposed, it will
eventually.
be proposed to the infiltration
okay.
under the parking lot. So we're eliminating this discharge.
we're eliminating 2.
We're eliminating 1, there's 3,
A
not 4.
roof drain.
Yeah, I had misspoke when we had walked the site.
And so the parking lot drains are what are gonna be the discharge points for the new.
Exactly,
Okay, yep,
we're gonna
yep.
maintain the 2 existing. Essentially, we're gonna remove the pipe, we're gonna try to pull it away from the wetlands as
Yeah.
much as we can, get some
I think the
elevation
one we're
above the
removing is
water.
the one that we
Discovered?
pulled the rock out from.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
that was
that's-
hiding there, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
So where's the pipe going from the building to that other
Going
infiltration?
out.
There,
Out the
okay,
end.
all right.
Do you anticipate much discharge off that?
No.
It actually might help up there.
Well,
Looking
keep
at
your
what-
wetland going.
Well, that's what I'm thinking, with trees coming out, with the climate changing, it could potentially dry up more. So
You would
that's-
prefer to
that-
see the roof go directly to the wetlands?
No, I'm just saying it's nice
Just
that it
go-
is
Just
going
go
over
ahead.
there
Put additional
versus down
water.
there.
Yeah.
The water does seem to really kettle right in that area. It's the area that has the most, yeah, this area. And it just doesn't, I'm just always surprised that it doesn't kind of keep migrating down a little bit further.
Hmm.
I don't know, I think there's just a lot of weeds and things that are really keeping it from going.
Hmm.
I think that it drains this way from that, trickle of a stream that comes down this way, and it grows in size as it goes down.
Well, it goes-
into.
It's
Goes
It's
across the
almost
road
like
at
it's
some place. and
Under
It's
then-
almost like it's
119.
coming
Yeah,
in from
and then
both
the-
and sitting
it
in
just
both.
sits there.
Yeah, because some of it wants to go that way,
Right,
some of it wants to go that way. Yep.
there's
Okay.
no movement.
Right, it just, yeah, it just stays.
Okay.
Okay.
So we've hashed this one enough,
Oh, there you go.
and then you got a continued request extension, amended order of conditions, Russell Street.
So what we've done on that, Amy had requested that we essentially develop a secondary plan set.
Right.
So we took out essentially sheet 2 of the landscape, sheet 2 of the layout materials, sheet 2 of the grading, and put a new title sheet. So Amy is in receipt of the new plans,
Right,
essentially.
and I think we were,
Yeah, do you have
Amy and I had been looking at some of the order of conditions, there were just some
Amy
minor,
hasn't received.
minor changes that we agreed to. Simple things like now, all construction dumpsters have to be covered, things like that, so.
Okay.
Just bringing that one up to speed.
So asking for an extension, I don't know if you want to take care of this tonight or push on an extension and then approval of the amended order conditions.
How long are we doing for the extension?
3 years, I think?
3 years?
Why don't we get that one out of the way?
Well, that's what they asked for. Do you want to do that?
Is the site fully, I remember when we started building it and then they stopped. Is everything vegetated there now?
No.
in ter-
So the upland area from the walls to the street, there's some gravel, there's some dirt that's there. There are erosion controls in place at the limits of work. I would imagine those probably have to get spruced up a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they get mowed out.
yeah. And replaced.
They all got, they're not there anymore.
Well, some of
No,
the.
they replaced them.
I don't know
Oh,
about-
they
yeah.
did?
Last, I think it was last summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I
this-
saw erosion control, there's straw
Yeah.
wattle out there.
They put them back up.
Okay, because when we were out there, things were already mowed down.
When I redelineated this, I did use, because it was just herbaceous veg, I used wooden stakes that give the superficial appearance of being associated with the silt fence.
So is it stable to, say hypothetically, nothing happens to that project for 2 years? Is it stable through all storms, through everything, and someone's still gonna be maintaining it?
It has been.
Because there's two.
Do we need any,
the
do
septic-
we need
Two
any
kind of holes
monitoring
there.
septic
reports to
system
come
and
back?
Yeah.
drainage basin, yeah.
Like twice a year to submit that they've actually, refreshed the erosion controls? I mean, I know we're gonna be next door, but to make sure that that's not kinda left.
Well, I think if Oxbow keeps doing the monitoring out there, the yearly monitoring, they've been commenting on the erosion controls also.
Okay. So
I drive
we'll
by and
just
look
keep
at it every now and then.
extending that monitoring.
Although actually, the only thing that occurred to me about Lot 2, or whatever, that is the sign.
The sign, yes, so
Isn't that on your amended?
it's on the
It's on
amended.
the plan.
But we don't have a sign design, so we're showing essentially a placeholder for,
But
where the sign is
it's also
gonna
not
go.
clear if it's in the wetland or
And
not.
it's not clear if it's 100% in the wetlands, so until we know exactly what the impact of that's gonna be, we wanna maintain.
Very close to,
I think it's
right-of-way.
in the wetland.
I think it is.
Well, I sent them the delineation from the sidewalk
Mhm.
stuff, so
And
he
it
just got that, so he's got an
yeah.
overlay and
I
stuff.
mean, and it's
It-
close
it
to the sidewalk,
appears.
isn't it? It's up in that far left corner.
Mhm.
The Acton Town meeting hadn't even started yet.
But what
It
I,
was supposed to start at 7, and it was 8:30, and they have so many people there, because it's a school build, that there's,
Yeah,
my
'cause when I
stuff's not
drove
going on.
by, I saw the sign, and I was
Oh
like,
my goodness.
that's why you were laughing.
That's why I was laughing, they haven't even started.
Did you want to go to that meeting?
Yeah, we're
I
on
was
it.
a second on the warrant, the schools are first, and it's not, they're still haven't even started. They're trying to figure out the electronic voting, because there's so many people there, they can't.
It's ridiculous. Okay. Anyways,
So-
all right, so
that's a good
I think
thing.
we're
This is pretty
clear on
funny.
what we need for the next. We're gonna go ahead and vote for
The
an extension
With
And-
monitoring.
with monitoring, and we will amend the order of condition. Oh, wait a minute, so circling back, we can't do that because you don't have the sign.
Well, we're
Well,
not
you can, they'd
going
have to
to,
come in
but
for
I-
another amendment for
yeah,
the
what I would
sign.
like to do is, right now, there's a placeholder that's indicating the sign. When we get the sign detail,
Do
construction
you think you'll
detail,
have the sign detail before
No.
December 18th, January 8th?
it's gonna be out a little bit. Because once the architect gets greenlit for construction drawings, sign package is part of
I
that.
just want to make note that we're not acknowledging the sign.
Yeah, and we're happy to come back for a minor modification for that little piece,
So can I
once
have-
we have
can
sign
I have a
detail, and then
motion?
we can propose the.
I can
Can
put that
continue the
into the findings.
extension.
right, that
Right
it's
in the
not,
findings, yeah.
what we're deciding is just an extension. It doesn't allow them to go forward with that until we see it.
And you doing the amended order of conditions or
Yep.
not?
Do you need
Does
a-
somebody want to make a motion?
Sign it,
Yeah.
for next, for 2 weeks.
Can you have that done for 2 weeks? Because there's a.
We need to-
another
yeah,
piece
we-
that's gonna be-
Because we're happy to leave it open. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have to do,
I was also wondering if there's a potential if the sign is gonna be like one of those solid signs, which
Right.
if in a wetland, it might not be a good thing, or if it's a raised, slightly raised sign. So that's a design.
right.
Placeholders. Okay.
But did you hear Amy's dialogue with that in terms of your sign? You don't want basically a big concrete base in the wetlands. You want something that's
Yeah,
up
it-
and.
It
Which
doesn't
is,
have to be up
which is,
high,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but-
it's
I
like,
mean, if
it's
we
almost
could
like
limit it
separate
to.
footings or
Yeah,
something.
if we could limit it
Because
to a
it's wet.
monopole that disturbs 2 square feet of
Exactly.
wetlands, that's gonna be what we're
Exactly.
gonna propose.
Yep. Yeah.
So somebody want to make a motion to extend?
Are you gonna try to do something about the sign? Is
Do you want to
that-
just
what did I
wait
hear
2
is
weeks
happening
and
when
you
get
can
with
get
the-
that in?
I don't think we're gonna have it in 2 weeks, and wouldn't you want them to do the sign packages in their entirety, all regular?
Let me ask the architect if he has something in mind. If he does, then we can probably get done. If he doesn't, hasn't given any thought to it, then.
I mean, you're coming in at the next meeting anyways.
We are.
So you just table it for 2 weeks?
It's fine. Then we can do that.
Okay, fine. You wanna do the extension now? You want us to say that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. We'll just go, we'll just
everything.
wait. We'll do everything then.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you.
Guess we'll go back over administrative discussion items.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I've got one thing I'm gonna throw out to you folks. What have we done here? 204-564, 85A, Hartwell request certificate of compliance. Where are we
No,
on
they don't
that
have the
one?
bounds in.
Well, kicking it down the road, and I just got an email from Ted Doucette, who said something that I was just becoming concerned about, is that they've started the stakeout. They got a couple issues, which I just noticed on the photographs, is I think some of the people out there are like into the CR.
Really?
Yeah. And one of them, I couldn't find a notice of intent. I couldn't find any filing for it. I'm sure they're in a buffer zone. One owner already has some rods out there, I'll figure that out later, but there is a yard conflict where there's, I guess, a volleyball court, that's what that is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I may need to go out there and look. I think the stuff at the other end, this is the stuff at the, I guess, south end.
So I think we'll have to hold on that one.
So
Okay.
we're definitely holding, and you may get to add some things to it.
Okay, 204-775-1161, Line, New England Power Company, Beaverbrook Road, request certificate of compliance.
Yeah, so they actually, this was right on the Westford line up Beaverbrook, and they actually didn't need to get into the wetlands like they thought they would.
Right.
The erosion controls are still up there, but they are in Westford, and Westford wants to approve their certificate before the erosion controls are removed, which they did, apparently. So I don't know if you just want to vote for this, because any erosion controls are in Westford anyway.
So it's not technically a certificate of compliance?
It would be,
Oh, it would be.
it would be. Or we can just carry it on to the 18th when I
Yeah,
can.
okay, so that's fine. I would make a motion that we go ahead and issue a certificate of compliance for 204-775.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Did we do the new owners of Cooper Farm?
No, we
Well,
talked
that's
about,
having
we're
them
gonna
come
have
in.
them come in.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what that was all
All
about.
right,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Missed that one.
So the next certificate, 18 Boxborough Road.
Request certificate of compliance.
Yes, I went out there and everything looks okay. He has not taken out the erosion control, so I don't know if you want to, something like that, you want him to actually take it out. This was not right up against the wetlands, but this is Bob Pace, who's also doing the Newtown Road. Not that that make any difference to you, any of you.
So we'll wait until we have the
Yeah.
erosion controls out. Okay, next one?
Bylaw regulation review.
Yeah, Andrew and I,
Yep, kick that down the road.
we
Okay.
did a little teeny bit of it, but
Potential
That's all.
land donation, U-17, 200 Forest Road. What's the story on that one?
I sent an email down to town council about the fact that there's work on it and can all that be worked out. I haven't heard back from them yet.
Right, so we'll
So that's,
table that for the next.
yeah.
Okay, water quality issue,
Oops, sorry. We talked, well,
we talked about that
we
one
talked about the
before.
last one. Anything else?
And
come back
nothing
up?
new.
Okay, so that's fine.
So nothing has been observed there since?
I haven't heard anything from Cammy. They're on the hunt, they're trying to find the flock logs. I'm not sure if they've actually got them installed yet. I put them in touch with Stefan, so they could figure out where they go. Stefan, you're my pro. He's so happy.
So for the next meeting, I see this certificate of compliance for 27 Four Pond Hill.
I don't know what he's doing. He didn't want to come in last time, and I haven't heard from him, so I'm gonna take it off the agenda and
So
wait until he says
I would
something.
just take it off.
Yeah.
Yep, that's why I think these things are just gonna get backlogged.
Yeah.
The next,
73 Hartwell Ave.
So they will be back in
That's in
theoretically
January.
January 8th.
okay. You asked us to look at the website a little bit. I think it's coming. A couple of the questions I had real quick was, and I know this was a discussion item, but, maps. Are we gonna have a place on conservation where they can have a nice link to, the brochure that has the maps and
What brochure that has the maps?
I mean,
any of the trails?
Conservation
Like the
Trust?
trails. No,
Conservation Trust
the
has
tra-
the maps and the,
No,
and
but
all the
like we
trails.
had
No,
one.
we had some.
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yep, that just had the town properties and so people would know what's named what and where.
Because I've got nothing to
Oh,
give
it's
to anybody.
really old school though.
And stuff is.
It's old school.
What I have seen is really old. Littleton Conservation Trust is updating it.
Yeah.
So I send
Okay.
people to their,
Yep, so if we could at least maybe have a hyperlink from, here are the trails, so from us over to the trust or something.
But
I have a link to the trust, but I'll have one that
Okay,
specifically
something
says that's
something
where you
that
find
just
maps.
says maps on it.
Yeah,
And then the
trails,
other,
rather.
under the land stewards, I
Yeah,
think,
that's gotta go.
okay, thank you. Yep.
Andrew's looking at it, he'll probably talk about it at the next
Yep,
meeting.
so that'd be cool. So, it's a nice way to get volunteers, and it's a nice way to have a tribute to art, but it's,
I think I've got some of the mapping
Yes,
in
oh,
the
okay.
file cabinet at home.
Yeah.
Some of the older ones, someplace.
So there were two other things. You had the rec department.
Yeah, I don't know if it is the rec department. Someone pointed out to me that there is somebody who was trying to put a group together to do teach people how to hike as a physical exercise, and they were gonna charge $5 a meeting.
It's more than $5.
Well, the one I saw was what, so
It
it amounted,
it is in the rec department brochure,
it is.
yeah.
Uh,
They said it was in there, it didn't run this fall, because she's just kind of trying, the woman who's gonna teach is trying to get it off the ground.
This wasn't the rec department. This was in like the Action Unlimited. Somebody had put in an ad.
Oh, maybe they offer it more than one way. It was Erin's, I can't remember
Well,
what her
that
name
sounds
was.
familiar, but it amounted to $15 for the 3 things.
yeah, you can't do that on town land.
Well, can you not do that on town land?
I don't think you can.
They didn't say
Little
which
Conservation
property.
Trust does it for free. They have guided walks all the time.
Right.
So I actually called Tim to ask him about it and said, we should have a conversation about it, because they want to do the skiing, which would be charging. They want to do maybe snowshoeing, and maybe just trails, get to know CONCOM lands in general. And, what was the other one? Oh, something for Earth Day. And they might do something, walks that have historical significance, which may also be obviously on, like up on Prouty or Sarah Indian or something like that.
The thi-
I just get concerned when there's money that is transacted.
Yep.
So, that it's not a town.
Yeah,
I know
but
a lot of towns do it through the rec department, like they'll have guided
You're
walks.
doing it through the rec
And you charge.
department.
Yeah, but
It's
yours
like,
is
it's
different.
like
Right, but you have to.
swimming up to Long Lake. They charge for tickets or stickers to go use
Right.
Long Lake,
Well, it's a park, I mean.
so it's the
Yeah,
same
but that's
thing.
different
I
from
think we just have
Someone
to,
sailing.
Yeah.
Taking it upon
There's also
themselves and
charge.
putting it in
I
an
think we
active
just have to
limited.
be careful
You're right.
that it doesn't come back to us, that they're responsible for it at their risk.
There was something, they're gonna do a 5K, something like that, through, well, the Ironman already goes
Yeah.
through, Morgan property, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
the
it
swim
does.
run bike.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
the Appleman,
Yeah, Appleman.
yeah.
So I'm writing this down with Tim at some point, and then maybe they can come back in again and kick it around some more.
But if
You
they're
just-
taking
you have to think of
responsible for it,
impact too.
that's one thing, but if somebody's doing this and charging on their own private,
Yeah, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, not even through the rec
Yeah.
department.
Yeah, no, you
Right,
can't
no,
do
that's
that, yeah.
different.
Yeah.
That's very different from
Yeah.
through the rec department. I mean, I think it's good to encourage people to be out on the conservation lands and see what we have and
You still doing the Christmas
be able to mark.
trees? The-
Yeah, till January 6th.
Is it up now?
Yeah, and a lot of people
Oh, really?
are out there who.
Yeah, I never saw
wouldn't
anything
normally-
else on it, so I guess they,
There's a Facebook page
Yeah.
that you can follow and people are posting pictures of themselves with
Lonesome
the
trails.
trees and like, oh, I've never hiked this conservation
Yeah.
land before.
Like things
so
like that would be
people are-
nice to link back
seeing
to the
more,
town pages.
Which I think is good, yeah.
Like,
I
bulletin.
mean, I followed it on, I liked it on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't know
I've
if
been
that,
following
they
it.
at least did that.
But
I'm
it's-
not sure.
they're probably getting a lot of activity too, because it's been mild.
Yeah,
It's been
Yeah.
comfortable.
No, that's
Do we
Sure.
have anything on our website about tick awareness? That would be,
Board of Health does, but.
yeah, I think it would be good if we're getting people out on the trails now, because the ticks are brutal right now.
So the only thing I had was, who are these guys? Solitude came in about extensions for the order conditions for Doleful Pond, Long Pond, and Spectacle Pond.
Oh, okay, yeah,
The what?
the
Pesticide.
aqua,
water chestnut.
So I don't know if you just wanted to keep, that was Hartwell.
I
If you
think
wanted to
we-
keep rolling these over, which is which? Long Pond was initially filed in 2001, Doleful is 2005, and Spectacle is 2003, and they've just been rolling over with.
I mean, we
think
don't
should.
wanna inhibit them, we wanna keep them going, but we wanna try and bring them up to date at the same time.
Yeah, so maybe I'll get the extension.
Just because some of the
Permits ready
people, the applicators have changed hands.
Yeah.
Some of the
Well,
companies have
and-
changed hands.
Yeah, and
Well, there's
success, I mean,
only
there
one
must be
left.
reports in there,
Well,
new
that would
be
mapping,
nice.
So
success.
Spec Pond is on the, section 303D impaired waterways list for invasive plants in
So-
2000.
Yeah.
So is Long Pond, yeah.
Established in 2000.
And Corey said they actually went over budget this past year, because there were so many invasives.
Yeah.
So-
No, I don't think.
That's
we
made me
should
think, well, they're going the wrong
discourage them.
direction.
I think we still need
Yeah,
to
have
do
to look
it,
at
but
that.
It would be worth a review, like what methods
Especially
are
this
you
hot
using,
weather
who are
in the
you,
summer.
Which makes it worse.
Yeah, because if
Well,
they're using
Corey
that
might come,
rake. if
Corey
they're-
might be coming in to talk
Yeah.
about the well
The wells.
stuff,
We can ask
so
them.
maybe we
Okay.
can address.
Maybe
so I think
tell,
there's-
maybe
there's
tell
some
them ahead
time.
of time. So we can get
Yeah,
started.
these are due to
Yeah.
expire in April, so we got time to mess with this,
Yeah.
all right?
Seems like it's worth
Um,
a look and
All
not
right,
just.
Amy's gonna go to Acton Town meeting.
Yeah?
No, I'm not actually, because it looks like it's gonna go into tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
I,
What do you,
last-
are you
they
presenting
literally,
a
it's
warrant?
been 2 hours and they haven't started, because they don't know how to get people in to vote.
Oh my gosh.
Did
Okay.
they do the electronic voting?
Logistics.
But I can't get going to the street.
Well,
School stuff,
Yeah.
school build.
Okay,
now, are we able to talk about the discussion items if they're not listed here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wasn't sure what the rules were.
I announced it anyway when we first started the meeting. I had
Oh.
something to say.
Something.
So you got something to say?
No, I was just wondering about the solitude stuff. I said, oh, what is that?
I'd like to have a motion to adjourn this meeting at 9:18. Somebody want to make a
so
mo-
moved.
All those in favor?
I.
And do your thing.